Avi Meyer's Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Check us out on the web, community policing, all good and fine. It is judicial season, one of my favorite seasons of all, and we try to bring you as many judges as possible or people running for judge. I want to, for those of you who aren't aware, Jack Leahy's got a really great blog called For What It's Worth. And whether, I can't reach out to everybody, so if you'd like to come on the show, you should contact me. You can get me through Facebook. You can get me through our website. And of course, I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch, as always. It is a pleasure to introduce you to a candidate for judge in the Veal vacancy, James Crawley. How you doing?
Thanks, Avi.
First of all, thank you very much. And why don't you tell us something about your background?
Well, I was originally born and raised in Joliet, and for most of my adult life, I've lived in Chicago. I went to undergraduate here in Loyola in the neighborhood. Studied political science and had the pleasure during that time of working for Senator Paul Simon.
Oh, great guy.
He was a fantastic man, really inspired me to go into politics and actually to go into law school. And after graduation, I went to St. Louis University in St. Louis. There, I was on law review, also had a great opportunity to work for a federal court of appeals judge, Myron H. Bright, during law school. And then returned to Chicago. For most of my career, I've been out now 24 years. Most of that has been doing personal injury work representing plaintiffs. For several years, I did also work in county government, was deputy general counsel for the treasurer.
Oh.
But for the good portion of my career, I've been doing personal injury work.
And what led you to decide to run for judge?
It seemed like a good time in my career. I had toyed with the idea a few years ago. I lived in the 6th sub-circuit at the time, and the race was pretty full, so I didn't run. I've since moved up to Jefferson Park area, where I now live, and it seems to be a good point in my career. I'm 50 years old. As I said, I've been out 24 years practicing. It seems like a good time to make that next step. I do realize the longer I've been an attorney, the longer I realize that you really do need judges who are experienced, who know what it's like to be on the other side of the bench and know what it's like to handle a case from start to finish. And I think I'm ready to take that step. I believe I have not only got the legal experience, but an innate sense of fairness that I like to see in other judges. I had an opportunity to also work for Judge Joe Casciato. I don't know if you know Joe.
No, I don't know everybody.
Judge Casciato was a great gentleman. I was actually the staff attorney for his courtroom at the time, and he and I read every brief that came through the courtroom every day, discussed every brief before they were argued by the attorneys, discussed them afterwards, read the case law, and then ruled accordingly. And what I think is paramount for any judge is that when people leave the courtroom, whether they won or lost, is to leave feeling that they've been treated fairly. And that's something that I want to bring to the bench.
Yeah, it's, I don't get to go to court too often, thank God, because I'm not exactly in the same business you are. But I actually did serve on a jury about 2.5 years ago, and despite interviewing all the judges, and I've actually been a reporter for different newspapers covering, police and courts and all that, it was a whole different feel, sitting on a jury and getting a sense for the reverence that a good judge has, for the process. And just because the laws are there, it takes somebody with depth and experience and a sense of fairness to, to try to make the system work properly.
Right. It's having a sense of equity, of making sure that the process is fair for everybody that comes in the courtroom, especially people that may not have the money to hire the best attorney or have one appointed. That's sometimes where the judge has to step into the place and make sure that there's equity so that people do get a fair trial.
Yeah, it's something I don't even think about too much, but yeah, I wouldn't say the public defenders, some of them I've seen are pretty good, but they're not as experienced and obviously not necessarily in the same class as people with, hefty salaries working for fancy law firms.
I don't know about that. I think some of the public defenders are great attorneys and do have a ton of experience. Part of their restriction comes from the finances that they're allowed to spend on the cases.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's public funding versus client funding. So they may not be able to hire the best experts. They may have a much bigger caseload than a private attorney who selects the cases that they want. So in reality, I think many of those public defenders are great attorneys.
Interesting. Yeah, like I said, I don't get to court very often. And as a matter of fact, the case I was on the jury, the guy decided to defend himself.
Never a good move.
No, well, he was caught shoplifting $18 worth of hair care products at a Walgreens. He was on film. There were 7 eyewitnesses. And he was wearing the same clothes that he wore when he was in court, when he was stealing. So I assume he was just looking for a place to sleep for 3 months. The judge told us afterwards that actually he had 33 priors.
Wow.
So, and none of it was big stuff. You know, it's $10, $20, that kind of thing.
How long did you deliberate?
Not very long. Not very long. It was interesting. It was it was over 26th and Cal. It was very interesting to see how everybody else was, almost everybody on that jury really, like, you know, when you got selected, you know, had a certain respect for the process.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that you raised 26 in California, one of the things that I tried to talk to all the various committeemen about when I met with them was my concern as, not only as a lawyer, but as a citizen, about the criminal courts and what is taking place in Chicago. Sheriff Dart said the other day that about 83 to 86% of people currently in Cook County Jail have an addiction problem.
Wow.
A drug addiction problem, which it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that maybe part of our crime problem is drug treatment, and maybe reevaluating the way that we handle drug crimes.
I'm with you about 4,000%, and it's very interesting too, because when I've had people like various state's attorneys on over the years, or people who were, you know, like top cop types, they know they can't say it publicly, but privately they know the system just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's very little that, I mean, if they were to tell what was the truth, they probably wouldn't get elected. It's crazy.
Right. I think that there is an inherent fear in sometimes saying, I think we need to evaluate the way that we handle drug crimes. One of the other things that I heard recently from Tony Preckwinkle was the delay time, the number of people that are in Cook County Jail just waiting for trial, simply because they can't raise the money to bond out. You know, I think we need to reevaluate our processes on the way that we handle criminal cases from start to finish. And there does seem to be, you know, a disadvantage, I think, to minorities of color, not only in Cook County, but nationally. It has the tendency to stigmatize communities when a large percentage of the males of your community are incarcerated. It does make people not have hope when they're growing up. And so those things are rooted into people very early on. And I think it takes not only change in the courts, but on a societal standpoint as well, that we need to look at the way we handle these things.
Oh, I would agree with you about 175% over there. There's no question about it. And the whole stigma thing. And let's see, we still have about a minute. Yeah, one of the things about, well, you know what? I'll let you talk. So you're out pressing the flesh. You're meeting people. You're getting your name out.
I am. It's you know, this stage. Right now, it's out almost every night. I've been very busy collecting signatures for my petitions, which go into be filed with the state next week. So it's been a busy time, and I know that in the next few months we're going to really gear up.
Well, I want to wish you a lot of luck. Do you have a website?
I do.
Want to contact you?
Crawleyforjudge.org, O-R-G, and it's Crawley with an A.
Right, and we've got that under the screen right now. I want to wish you a lot of luck in the election.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
And thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Sonny. Bye-bye.